Oh, there we go, mate. The new intro's fit and firing, mate. Loving life for that, aren't you?
Yeah, a bit of a banger that, and the little graphic of us at the end got me laughing. I had to sort of steady myself for the start there.
Stick it in the comments. What American band does that sound like? It's on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember which one it is. But yeah, if it comes to me, I'll say it. But there's a live match on at the minute, mate. And have you got the score there? Do you know what the score is in the West Ham?
The last I heard,
at the bottom.
The last I heard was 2-0 West Ham. I'm just going to check that it's no, that's not correct.
I bet that's wrong. I can see a man trying to tell me the score here with one finger on one hand and one finger on the other.
It's 1-1. So Mario own goal put West Ham in front. Dominguez equaliser for Forest. 68 minutes played we're coming up to, so tight.
Let's try and keep an eye on that. We'll rely on our mate who's going to join us in a bit for a bit of live reaction. He's the man for that. So yeah, we'll start on Saturday. So we'll skip to Saturday and Sunday this weekend just to take a look at what's been happening in the Premier League. Aston Villa and Forest, the East West Midlands sort of a little bit of a derby there, and European royalty, obviously Villa and Nottingham Forest, as they would proclaim themselves. 3-1 to Villa. Villa continuing to defy, I won't say completely defy the odds, because they've been there and thereabouts in recent seasons, haven't they? But from the way they started the season to where they are now, Unai Emery's some manager, isn't he?
He is, and his record speaks for itself, and what he's doing again this season with Aston Villa. They had that turnaround result at Arsenal, which broke that impressive run, but they're back on it now with bouncing back after that defeat at home to Forest, and they just had too much for Forest here, dominating the ball throughout. John McGinn on the score sheet twice, and Watkins again. Gibbs White for Forest. Our friend Cooler King will have been delighted with this, won't he? This is how good teams respond to defeats, isn't it?
Yeah, I like the way Gibbs White took his goal. Obviously, it was a little deft chip, wasn't it? But the quality came from Aston Villa. Watkins with an absolute thunderbolt, and obviously John McGinn. Now, John McGinn to me, he's one of those players. A lot of unnoticed stuff that he does. He protects the ball really well. Obviously, he's I'm not going to say he's quite well built at the back, isn't he? You could argue that his rear end looks after a lot of footballs. Let's put it that way. He literally bounces people out of the way, doesn't he? And uses his bod really, really well. And he falls on the floor a fair bit too. But he's just like, he's there, isn't he? He just fits in at Villa, doesn't he?
He does, and he's got, what you describe, the right stature, knows how to use his body well. He's got that low centre of gravity for players with that kind of stocky build as well. They're not too tall, but he's strong, and has been a great servant for them as well, a real asset for them.
Yeah, he just seems to fit in there, and again, every now and then he'll pop up with these important goals that give him the points that they need to keep on that title charge. I really like his intensity as a player. They've got such balance to their team. I think Unai Emery, he knows how to put a team together as well, doesn't he?
He really does. And you look at some of the talent he's got in that side now. Ollie Watkins seems to be coming back to some sort of form. Hopefully he is ahead of a very important international tournament next summer. But Morgan Rogers in there as well. And he builds squads well, Emery, and he puts some depth and rotation options in there as well. Very, very smooth operator, as I've called him before.
Yeah, it still begs the question why it didn't work at Arsenal. I don't know why that was. There was a little bit of apparently there was a bit of disrespect and didn't really value his methods. But I don't know. He's certainly a man. Certainly a man who knows what he's doing at the moment, and fair play to him and his Villa squad. Brighton and Hove Albion, they faced a Burnley side again who were competitive in the game, hung around in the game quite well. 2 good finishes for them. They just seem to have a bit more, and I think this is where Scott Parker will be we know what he did last season with the number of clean sheets that they got in the Championship. They are competitive, as in they are in games, but do you think they're just not adventurous enough, are they? I just don't see where those goals are going to come. And I feel like a broken record saying it week in, week out. When you're not nicking goals, particularly when you're on top, and it doesn't happen that often, let's face it, it become demoralising for the players.
It can, and look, we may feel like a broken record saying it, but this was 11 games without a win for Burnley. The last victory was away at Wolves on the 26th of October. That's how long it's been. The writing would appear to be on the wall for them. Ruter and Iari on the score sheet for Brighton. Iari is a player that's really impressed me when I've seen him on a number of occasions this season. But for a team that finds wins hard to come by, they don't half mess about with the ball at the back, Burnley, and they paid the price for it here as well. Brighton went 8th on the evening of this result, mate. They don't get quite the same plaudits nowadays for me, but is that a credit to their success that we talk about them a little bit less? Have we gotten used to Brighton being such a good team?
I just can't help but be impressed by Brighton's recruitment. I think that is the thing that sets them where they are, puts them in that position where they are at the moment, because all the time they are plucking players from the far end of Europe that we've never seen before, and they come in and impact this first team. I know Iari's been there for a few years, but it's spotting that talent that can be nurtured and moved forward with as well. I mean, I know Rutter cost them a few quid from Leeds United. Obviously, we knew about him. Danny Welbeck's been around the block, but they're getting a tune out of Danny Welbeck that many sides could not get for many years in terms of the output in goals as well. I just think it's just a really, really good side with a lot of players who can knit them goals. And yeah, they've always got good fullbacks. They're steady away at the back with Van Hecker and Dunk, who are steady Premier League footballers, and a good goalkeeper as well in Verbruggen. So they've just got a lot of good things in that side. Who will be the one to get plucked next? We never know, but I'm sure Brighton will be aiming for Europe again this season.
Yeah, I think so. And I think someone pointed out in our Ramble community in the chat that they balance things well as well. They've got 3 or 4 experienced players through the side. Dunk, you mentioned, Welbeck, 2 of those, Milner. They've got players there that help.
Pascal Gross has come back as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So, they balance it well.
Great cheer for him on the weekend, wasn't it, when he came on? Disappeared off to Dortmund, all those... they said about his goal involvement. So he has so many. One of those dream team players that you can pick up on the cheap that will be in the best 11 at the end of the year. He's a real find, I think, to get him to come back. It's the return, isn't it, of the senior pros this year. Xhaka, Henderson, Pascal Gross. There's a lot of players who've been there and seen it and done it, and their value being recognised as well.
Yeah, and they can give a lot of people a reassurance. I think it was Joel Veltman I saw being interviewed at the weekend who talked about what a lift it gave everyone to see him back. A familiar face, but also a great technician, someone that can help them win games.
Yep, and we didn't even mention James Milner, who's still playing Premier League football. Yeah. Fit as a butcher's dog, lived a life, and he's getting the rewards for it later on in his career. So fair play to him as well. The big one on the weekend down at the bottom on Saturday, Wolverhampton Wanderers 3, and in a frenetic first half, and West Ham 0, who just could not live with them, couldn't muster a response in the second half. A damning result for West Ham, who we know, who we've just highlighted, are 1-1 at this moment in time. They need a win. They can't buy one, but they need one at the minute, don't they?
They're desperate for one. And as for the turnaround at Wolves, if I was a West Ham supporter, Paul, I don't think I'd have the words for this. I mean, I'll keep the misery as brief as I possibly can for them. Shipped 3 goals, managed no shots on target against a team that can't beat anyone, with all due respect to Wolves, or at this point seemed like they couldn't beat anyone. The defending that led to all 3 goals was diabolical. It really was. I mean, they've just spent, I think it was 47 million on 2 forwards in Pablo and Castellanos. It had better inject some spirit, hadn't it, mate? Because, like you say, starting with tonight, they need to find a win. Playing the team directly above them in Nottingham Forest, massive game for them.
Yeah, and I think Forest, I won't say a false position, but I think their squad would lend itself to being somewhere in the middle of this division. So yeah, it feels like there's improvement in Forest as well, and I know Dyche gets them going at home as well. So it's the writing is not quite on the wall for West Ham, but it's the spray cans are getting shaken, I'd say, for that side. It'd be intriguing to see what they do in the window. For me, that they're a side that if they went down and the likes of Paqueta, and obviously, I mean, Jared Bowen would be the biggest thing in modern football if he stayed with them if they went down. And I know he's a fan and everything and what have you. Or he's certainly going out with Danny Dyer's daughters, which makes him a bit fearful of leaving, maybe. But on the whole, I look through that side and I think, other than them two, where's the saleable assets in that side? Somerville's flattered to deceive, hasn't he, since his amazing season in the Championship? He'd be a great one to keep hold of if the worst did happen. But I look at the team and think they've got a couple of good young lads, but other than that, I wouldn't see them going close in the Championship next season based on what we're seeing at the minute.
No, I don't think I would as well. And sometimes having players with Championship experience is important as well. Like you say, Somerville has played there for Leeds. He would certainly be one that they would, you would think they would look to keep. They're looking possibly. I saw a story about Callum Wilson possibly leaving West Ham as well. Now, might not be setting the tyres alight, but an experienced pro. They haven't got too many other players in their squad that are capable of scoring goals, Jared Bowen being the only one you could really name. All right, they brought 2 forwards in. I'm not sure I'd be doing that at this moment in time. I think keep your experience in the dressing room at the moment. But, they're going to have to, certainly if they do go down, it might be a reboot job, Paul. They might have to restructure completely.
Yeah. There's a couple of good young lads in there. I like Potts. He seems to be a good player, but yeah, it's going to be tricky. On to Bournemouth and Arsenal. When you look at sides, have Arsenal slowly convincing you that they can be somebody who squeak through and make that title breakthrough this season? It's the type of game that champions win, isn't it?
It is, and they possibly are convincing me of that. I don't know how much of that is down to the fact that City have had a little bit of a hiccup at this point as well, where Arsenal have stayed steady. They've held true to their recent form or their form over the season. Fair play to them in this. I mean, character and defiance in this performance, I would say, against Bournemouth. Gabriel gifted Evan Nielsen an opener before redeeming himself, in all fairness to him. Declan Rice arriving...
Sorry, mate. I've got to get this in. Evan Nielsen's dreams all came true, didn't they? When Gabriel...
Uncharacteristic, just laid it across for him. Lovely. No obstacle whatsoever.
Sorry.
Incredible.
Couldn't help myself. Then he gets then the ball falls through in the box. He gets the equaliser. Only for Captain England, Declan Rice.
Yeah,
I've got these two in, no problem. Then we're sailing to the victory. But yeah, and was it Krupi is his name, with a great hit at the end, superb strike. Yeah, that ball was like an Exocet missile. It was absolutely superb. So yeah, 3-2 to the Arsenal. Again, it felt like a game that a team who were going to win the league might win. So yeah, fair play to him on that one. We go on to Sunday, and we're looking at the War of the Roses, Leeds and Man United. The much bemoaned, and it was part of the goal of the month. So Leeds won the goal of the month. Personally, for me, it was Harry Wilson. And take nothing away from the Leeds goal. I mean, as a team, I would be loving life if we scored that kind of goal. But I think the key part to that whole move, and the cleverest part, was Aronson's ball across to Calvert-Lewin. It was a smart finish.
Yes.
That little ball from out wide inside there was a really clever one on that goal of the month, and he was the one who took the goal. Used his experience against a young man in heaven. He was not in heaven at that point, that's for sure, as Aronson streaked past him and slotted gleefully with his left foot. A little bit of, what's the word? I'm not going to say retribution, but there was a little tinge of satisfaction in that for Aronson going to the Leeds fans, who we know are not his biggest fans, but certainly they were right behind him at that point.
They were, and I think he's finding his feet at the top level in English football now. When he first came to Leeds, and I think he's had a subsequent loan away from the club since, and then come back, if I remember rightly. Took him a while to find his feet, as it can sometimes for players coming from overseas. But he looks like a spark for them, and someone that's really stepped on it this season, as have a few of the Leeds players. I mean, they continue to edge away from that bottom three bit by bit, don't they? Again, a respectable result here against old rivals. That Aronson goal, as you mentioned, cancelled out by Cunha, who seems to be in reasonable form for Man U as well at the moment, getting between the centre halves and slotting home. Trips to Newcastle, Everton, and then a home game against Arsenal next for Leeds, Paul. A few points from that, and they're going to be feeling confident of survival, aren't they?
I think there's a lot to be said for getting your main striker fit and firing, isn't it? I think that's one of the big question marks that was over Calvert-Lewin. I think for his fitness issues, he would have been courted by a few more of the bigger clubs in the league, and that's no disrespect to Leeds United. He would have thought when he had his big season with Everton a few years ago, we'd be looking at a top five, top six sort of side. But Leeds have managed to get him on that basis, and like you said, if they can keep him fit, and now he's on a roll. He's got all the tools. If you give him the right service, he's got all the tools to hit those goals for you. So, yeah, I mean, watch this space. I think if Leeds can carry on as they are now, I think they're undefeated in 5, 6, 7, maybe. No, I can't be sure. We'll look at the table in a short while, but they're certainly impressing now in a way that Sunderland have been doing all season. So fair play to Leeds on that front. Everton. The inconsistency on show by this club is them, and for me, it's them and Newcastle. You just never really know what's turning up, do you? And in Jack Grealish, they'll always have someone who can provide assists, which he did in this game. But Igor Thiago with a hat trick to give Brentford a 4-2 win over Everton at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. You've got to be impressed with Thiago. I think one of his teammates did an interview after the game, and I remember him saying he's just a handful. He's just got a bit of everything. He can do a bit of everything. He runs. He works hard. He's quick. He's powerful. He can do it all, and on the day he can finish as well.
He can, and I wrote in my infamous dossier, wow, Thiago. Just really impressive, isn't he? I think it would be unkind.
Kylie, you'll be all right.
It would be unkind to call him a poor man's Haaland. He may prove to be someone of that caliber ultimately, but at the moment, at Brentford, he's really impressing. I think everyone. What a find he's been for them, as you say, a hat trick in this one. His first was off an excellently executed press by Brentford. Pressing really high, getting the spaces right, winning the ball back. All credit to Keith Andrews for the job he's done during what really is a rebuild. Let's be honest, losing Bomo and Visser in the summer in particular. Everton, you mentioned their inconsistency, Paul, on a bit of a sticky run of form of late for sure. But Brentford now 7th. Can they maintain that, or is their squad a little bit too thin? That would be my only concern.
I think they've got some good technicians in there, and obviously Schade is again 1 week unstoppable. Next week he's still a threat, but he's not the same. They've got that little bit of X factor where they can go and win games out of nothing as well, which makes me think, because they have had parts of seasons, and same with Brighton, where they've gone the second half of the season, it's all gone a little bit Pete Tong. But I think that the big question for me here is when I look at Brentford and I look at Keith Andrews' appointment and I look at the loss of Mbeumo and Wissa, and I've said this before, are they the ones punching the most above their actual weight here? Probably thinking about, you're talking about Villa, who were, a lot of people would have 6th, 7th anyway, I think, at the start of the season, one way or the other. I think a lot of people might have had Brentford in the red zone at the bottom there because of the loss that they've had in terms of the personnel that they lost in Mbeumo and Wissa. And he continues to defy, and the managerial appointment, a guy who's never managed in the division in Keith Andrews. You've got to be really impressed with how they go about it.
You have, and as I say, in the manner in which they play, the positivity in their play as well. They're certainly not they're an entertaining side to watch. They're certainly not boring to watch. And the outlay on players, as you say, they're finding players. Their scouting system and network is very good, but the outlay seems to be relatively low as well for a team punching at the level that they are. So hats off to them, and they impress again here.
Yep. On to Newcastle United. Good win for them, 2-0 at home to Palace. Henderson made some good saves in this game. Newcastle can be a big handful at home when the crowd get behind them, and they feel like a bit of a steamroller of a side at times. And then, they go away and do what they do. But Bruno Guimaraes, who's always there and thereabouts for them, always good for the odd goal here and there. A real talisman for their team, gets the goal in this one. And Thiago has been effective for them from set pieces this season.
He has, and you mentioned Bruno a moment ago. He's been in great form for Newcastle this season. Scores in front of the Gallagher again, as you mentioned. Malik Thiaw again, impressed and getting himself a goal. Has a bit of a Gabriel effect for Newcastle on set pieces. Really dangerous. Bit of a powerhouse on corners. I've seen him do that a few times this season. But a lot of talk about Oliver Glasner being linked with other clubs, Paul, and that's rumbled on for quite a while because of obviously their cup success and the start to the season that they've had. But that's now no wins in Palace's last 7 in all competitions. Will that make potential suitors pause a little bit, or is that being a bit unkind to Glasner? Do we get a bit carried away sometimes?
I think there'll be some fear in that dressing room that Gahey's gonna Liverpool might go, do you know what, push the button on it, pay this money, and Crystal Palace can't really turn it down if the money's right. I think that there'll be a fear there because, like you say, there's a little bit of a downturn in performance at the minute. They've just signed Brennan Johnson for a few quid. I always think Johnson's one of those guys who can score as well. His numbers aren't bad at all and weren't bad for Spurs last season. For me, it's a strange sale. I look at the Tottenham team, and I fancy him above some of the guys that they've recently bought at the top of the pitch. There was a little breakdown. I was watching it on Match of the Day about that final bit for Tottenham. And when you look at what the manager's having to play with now compared to what previous managers have had at their disposal, I think Frank's getting a little bit of a raw deal, considering I don't know how much across he was of any of these signings, but there's a lot of them for me who are very, very up and down, inconsistent. Your main man up top at the minute is Richarlison, who again, that's fine for 5 games. Over 20 games, he might be good for 5, might be decent for 6, but he's going to be poor at times as well. For me, he's very erratic as a striker. I don't see the quality at the top of the pitch that certainly that they had in the Kane and Son days. And you think back a bit. I don't know about the sale either. I think that he's probably said, I'm not getting enough minutes. We get a decent fee for him, we'll get him in, whatever. I think Spurs need to do some serious recruitment if they want to turn around this slump they've had over the last year.
I think so, and Johnson was someone I spoke to. My brother-in-law is a big Spurs supporter, lifelong, and his point about Johnson was, well, he doesn't take on a man enough, he doesn't beat a man. I said, well, he plays a different role really for you than he did at Forest. He was a bit more central. He almost played as a number 9 at times for Forest, moved around a little bit, but he had a different role. And, they're possibly looking for him at times to play as an out-and-out winger or someone in the half space. a 10 with a forward. It depends what works for the player sometimes as well. Like you say, you probably fancy him rather than Xavi Simons. I'm not sure. I think I would look for Brennan Johnson over him, for example. So I'm on your wavelength with that for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm thinking of Kolo Muani and I'm thinking of Tell.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of players there who can be good on a day, but for me, I think his numbers have always been decent, and I was really surprised that they decided to let him go. Maybe there's some bigger rivals coming, who knows? But that Spurs team at the minute, on paper for me, doesn't feel right. Certainly not to get in the top 6 or 7. On to Fulham, Harry Wilson against his old team, the man of the moment for Fulham. It has to be said. He's obviously, his stock is going up. He fits in nicely at Fulham. Could his head be turned by a big move to somebody? We know, when I look at the bench of Arsenal and I think about Madueke and Eze sack kicking the reels, I think Wilson's found it right there, hasn't he? I think at Fulham he's just about the main man. With Iwobi, Smith Rowe, they've got good players in that attacking three, haven't they?
They have, and he's becoming a bit of a big fish there, isn't he? He scores with a razor-sharp finish in this one. Initially ruled out and then ruled in by VAR, which was interesting. But Wirtz equalising for the Reds, spectacular finish to this game. Such is the quality of the Premier League. You can think you've won it and then have the rug pulled out from under you in a matter of seconds. As for the late drama, Gakpo thought he'd won it 4 minutes into added time. And then at the end of the game, before Harrison Reed, with what for me was an unsavable goal, he puts it right in the top bin, doesn't he? At that angle, 7 minutes into added time. High drama, disappointment for Liverpool. I mean, given the form of the top three, I feel like Liverpool are in a bit of a battle royal for fourth spot. I don't know what your feelings are on it. I don't see them breaking into the top three. I think Villa will be the one to stay there, personally.
I just think Liverpool have been susceptible at the back all season. And Virgil's not quite the level he was before. He's not got a partner there that they can rely on. Konate's been Bambi on ice at times for me. Just not looking like the steady hand that Gahey would have been for him if they'd have managed to get the deal over the line. I think they've missed Gravenberch, who's a bit underrated in that team and gives them a lot in front of that back four. I mean, I think that there's definitely a spot for Florian Wirtz with the right players around him. Salah's, again, we're yet to see the best of Salah this season, and he's been so consistent. But is this the season where it all drops off for him? I don't know. Gakpo again, is he consistent enough? Ekitike looks great and then doesn't look great. They're sort of. They're going through what I think the manager's hoping can be regarded as a transition season, but the signings haven't really worked, have they? Let's face it.
No, they haven't. I mean, when they brought in Kirkez, Ekitike comes through the door. You look at the players they're bringing in, and you just thought at that point they're consolidating their dominance.
Isaac's ankle. Frimpong, it hasn't worked, has it? And unfortunately for him, that'll probably be what the guillotine will fall on him at some point, because these signings are not what we thought, and not what a lot of people thought, really. When they were signed, I think a lot of people were all over it, saying Liverpool have gone from there to there, and they've stepped on another notch by adding to the squad. But it's just not really worked this season. The balance isn't quite right, and I think it all starts at the back with. I don't think the goalkeeper and the star centre back have been on the same level as previously, but it's me. So 2-2 in that one. Again, Harrison Reed, goodness me. Again, that's one in 25. You hit one of them, I suppose, as a pro. Man City 1, Chelsea 1. Man City controlling the game. Pep getting a bit spiky again. Every time it doesn't go his way in the post-match, he was getting spiky with the interviewer again about, I think the interviewer said, what was the change in the second half, and he was like, oh yeah, what do you think about it? He was very like, don't tell me about my football team sort of attitude, which You know, some like, some don't, and some like the way he goes about it. But I think he needs to answer the question. I think Chelsea almost outmaneuvered them in the second half, and sort of took the game to them when it looked like they were just going to coast along to another victory, which they have been enjoying. Fair play to him recently. But yeah, Chelsea coming back late doors with Enzo Fernandez, and a lot of people think they were worth the point.
I think they were. They really stepped on it second half. I mean, City were well deserving of the first half lead, I thought, in this one. Reinder's a standout player again for City. Got himself another goal just before half time. Pacey finish into the roof of the net. Yeah, I like him. He's been a really good pickup for them. He's someone that, it was linked with our parish at one point when he was playing in the Netherlands, and we never stepped on that one. And there we are. He ends up at Man City, and he's been a fabulous signing for them. But Enzo Fernandez with that late equaliser looked like Donnarumma had saved it. And then he just about manages to bundle it over the line. A real lift for Chelsea. Huge blow for Man City, who fell 6 points behind Arsenal with this. Like you say, Pep frustrated after he felt like they'd done enough to win it. A bigger blow, though, is the apparent loss of Diaz and Gvardiol to injury. Paul, didn't sound good, that, did it? I did see the incident where Gvardiol picked up an injury, but apparently Diaz as well, and that's going to be a huge miss for them in the centre of that defence.
Yes, it will. It will. That's right. It'll be offset by the Rodri return, because that will make such a difference to the way they have to defend. I think they've still got Ake, haven't they? And
yes.
I can't remember what the young lad's called there, but it will remain to be seen whether that's the thing that might push it towards Arsenal this season. I still think they're a dangerous beast, City, and especially with Rodri coming back, that adds an awful lot to that side. We'll wait and see, won't we? So it's going to be an interesting end for not for, I won't say for a change, but it's certainly going to be interesting to the end of the season. I'm keen to get our man in and talk about some of these refereeing incidents that we speak about. Always something to talk about with VAR in play, and there's a few things to sort of talk about. Welcome, Gaz Dunn. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, gents. You all right?
Yeah, Gaz. Yeah, all good, mate.
The man in black, here he is to tell us about this. So, Florian Wirtz ruled out goal for offside, mate. It looked at first glance by the cut of the grass to the untrained eye that he'd just gone half a centimetre. I mean, I don't like the rule as it stands, and I think we've said that before.
Yeah.
But it did look like he was a little bit offside. There's talk about thickness of lines. Can you clear this up, mate? Because it's a bit of a
tricky. It is a tricky one, to be honest here, because you are right. When you look at the lines on the grass, it looks like he's slightly offside, and sometimes the angle of the camera makes, like I've said before, makes a massive difference. If you're not dead in line, it makes a difference to the AR just as way if there's a camera there. And everyone's talking about this 5 centimetre thing, and everyone's been bringing this. Oh, where did this come from? Nobody knew about this. That's been in for about 3 or 4 years, by the way. They changed the lines to make it thicker because people didn't want the John Lundstrom big toe offside anymore. Nobody wanted that in football. So on VAR, they made the lines thicker, and that is why that was given onside on I think it was Sunday, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Yeah, that's right.
On Sunday. And that's why, because when they put it on, they put the lines on, the clubs wanted this. They didn't want the John Lundstrom toes, and that is why that was given onside by VAR. Great decision by the VAR, I thought, when I see it. I thought, and me and Rich Carrington were talking about this, and we got our wires crossed, because I thought you were saying that, because you know what, for an AR, that is an outstanding decision.
The only thing I would say is, and I said previously, we had to wait. The lines are out. It certainly wasn't a straightforward one. But no, obviously not gifting, but Liverpool getting the goal at that point. There was another one, wasn't there, in the Bournemouth match with Declan Rice and Semenyo?
Yeah, so some people have asked for a second yellow for this. Now, people say, no, it's stopping a promising attack and things like that. Declan Rice is breaking through midfield, but not really going anywhere as such. and Semenyo barely. There's a little touch of the arm. That is it. It's literally. It's like holding somebody's hand. It weren't even that far. You know what I mean? He's arguably touched him, and people are asking, "Oh, should he have been cautioned?" And the game doesn't stop. By the way, the game doesn't stop. It carries on. Declan Rice throws his hands up, saying, why have I not got a foul?" It's not a foul for me because I don't think it's all about sustainment and impact, and that pull isn't sustained, and it doesn't really impact Declan either, in my opinion. And I agree with the referee. But there's a few people that came out and said, "Oh, why is he not being sent off?" Or bigger teams getting calls, etc. But that actually goes against it for once. So, like I said, big clubs don't always get the calls.
Yeah. That's another one. Probably don't want to go that little rabbit hole. Down it. But Wolves benefited from I think fair to say, a soft pen on Mane. Do you think it's soft, or was it one that should have been given?
So I'm massively on the fence with this one more and more. Look at it. I've just watched it back again as you guys have been talking while you're in the background, and it's one of those where the defender's got the ball and then there's minimal contact, but there is contact, and as soon as there's that contact, you've given the referee a decision to make. Would I have given it on the field of play? No. I think if it's not given on the field of play, me personally, I don't think VAR look at it. So it's just one of those. Referee gives it, VAR aren't going to overturn it because there's contact, and they won't overturn it if there's contact.
Yeah, so, I have seen a lot of that in recent years, mate. Where there is simply sometimes it's like 1 foot touching another, and the player goes foul and now goes flying. Now I know when you're travelling at pace, and I used to say this about Michael Owen, won a lot of penalties because when you're running as quick as he ran, someone touches your leg and it knocks you off your stride, all of a sudden you're flying on the floor and you get a few more for it. But again, for me, does contact constitute a pen?
No,
I see it, but I see it a lot, guys, where someone gets like just a touch, and if it's a touch at the right time and he reacts the right way, the referee's inclined to give what I would call very, very soft penalties. And I think that is where there is a huge inconsistency in how we go about this, because there's some, like we say, where there's people getting wrestled to the floor and shirts ripped off their back. Then there's other ones, and hopefully it levels out across all the clubs, where players just get the slightest touch, and they feel the touch, and down they go. I think the refs for me are getting better at spotting simulation, spotting when somebody's going down because they're expecting contact, or they're halfway down before they've even, they've dragged their feet when the players slid in and made a tackle. I think they're getting slightly better. My other problem with that, mate, is that they don't book them enough. So when they know that someone's dived, and I've seen a few this season where players dive on the floor, the referee gets it bang on and goes, no pen, not having it. And then I have seen sometimes the yellow comes and I'm like, love that. That is the only way to stop it. And other times I just see, just carry on, like nothing's happened. For me, it's so, I know football's a hard game, and I don't envy the job that they have to do, but I just think the inconsistency is just so hard, isn't it?
When you look at simulation and cautioning for simulation, what I will never do, and this is me, the world of Gaz done, I will never caution for simulation if there's contact. Because if there's contact, there's contact. If there's no contact and it's a blatant dive, you'll get the card out. And you are right. Not every contact is a foul. It's a contact sport, and it is finding that balance. And like you say, when you look at replays and things like that, people always say to me, I don't like it when I just see the still. Believe it or not, they don't. They ask for that in speed, because one of the things you want to see is what is that impact. And you are right with Michael Owen, because he moves at pace. That slightest a bit of contact will mean a penalty potentially, because it's literally knocked him over. Where if you run at less speed, then obviously it makes not as much impact.
No, I know, and I don't know how it's fit. Is it still 1-1, guys, in the West Ham
game?
No,
it's finished, and it's finished 2-1 Forest with a penalty in the 86th minute that went to VAR for an on-field review.
Morgan Gibbs-White was the scorer.
Yeah. So the goal was disallowed for offside. So, and I think I don't know if we were talking beforehand, and I said, "Oh, that could be offside." That, and it was offside. So that was then to go 2-0 up, and then within minutes they've equalised, and then they've just had an 86-minute penalty. I'm on the fence.
It's a hammer blow, guys, for West Ham. They now sit
massively.
7 points behind Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, honestly,
that is a shocker, isn't it, for West Ham?
Yeah, when you get a chance to look at the pen, have a look at the pen, and yeah,
gosh, I feel like we should be looking at it, to be honest.
Yeah. So Areola's come out, and he's contacted Gibbs White. He's got it. And the only thing in my head at the moment with it is Souček wins the header just before it. And I think the header's been defended. I think he's defended the header first. The header's he's defended it and the ball's gone, and then there's contact. And I'm thinking, what's the impact there? I don't think he's winning the ball. He's never getting that ball, Gibbs White. Yes, he's contact. Yes, he's late. But then again, clubs are wanting that. So,
okay. So I take it he's gone down like a sack of spuds and then and been awarded the pen.
Yeah.
On the flip side,
don't get me wrong. There's contact in the head. There is contact. And
in the head, but what part of Souček hits his head?
Oh no, so it's not Souček. Areola chucks him. So ball comes across. Souček heads it clear, and Areola's come out to get it at the same time and has contacted White with his hands onto his head.
So that's a real grey one, isn't it? Because whenever you're coaching footy, and whenever what every purist football fan would say is what you want the goalie to do is come and clean house, and that is smash the ball, kill your own man if you need to, poleaxe the striker, and that's fine, and that's good, and that's dandy. But when there's a knock on the head now, they're so wary of contact, aren't they? To the head.
I'm on the fence. I keep changing my mind, Paul. I've watched it about 3 times. I've changed my mind.
If you're on the fence, God help us. Anyway, and it's funny we talk about Souček because was he victim to an assault at the weekend?
There's one thing to look. There's one thing to look at when corners are coming in, and it's all to do with is the player even looking at the ball, and it's Ladslav. Is it Kreischer for Wolves? He's not even looking at the ball. All he's looking at, it's Kreischer. That's it. He's literally looking at Souček the whole time. He doesn't even know where the ball is. He's no clue. Only believe it. I think the corner came into the middle of the area or to the front post, and he's at the back stick. He's just looking at him, and he literally rugby tackles him. And for me, that's got to be a penalty.
No. Did the ref have a word? Nothing given? Nothing at all?
Nothing given. He might not have seen it, to be fair. He might not have seen it. I can't remember whether. I need to go look back and have a look where the referee was on it.
Maybe not. And tell me this. Tell me this, because my head's going to explode in a minute. Is VAR allowed to say to the ref at that point, "You've missed one here, mate"? Are they allowed to? Are they even allowed to do that?
Yeah, if they will look at it. The reason I think it's maybe not getting given is because the ball goes nowhere near it. But when I talked about that scale earlier that I was on about, I think there's no impact, by the way. It goes front post or middle of the park. It's not going near Souček, by the way. But I think when it's that bad and that obvious, in my opinion, Gaz Dunn gives that.
I think you sold it to me with the eyes. So as soon as the eyes
looking at the ball
are focused on the player and there is enough, and not even contact, if there's a genuine push, tackle, whatever you want to call it, I think every football fan, and I think that a lot of people, whether you like West Ham or not, will look at that and go, why hasn't VAR told the ref to have a little look at that, even in real time? Because I see them given. They've been given in the last few weeks. And I'm going, that's right. Stop them from doing it over and over again by giving some penalties. I get it. It's the right thing to do. It just, my head explodes with it, Gaz. I don't know how you manage it, mate. The last one is the elite managers or the these superstar managers of these clubs, do they do what they want? Can they speak to people in the after post match interview as they please? Can they stand wherever they want on the touchline? Talk to me about Mikel Arteta.
So there's loads of clips that I've seen when I was watching the game at the weekend with Arteta out of his technical area, and not so much out of the technical area, but on the touchline, literally on the touchline. You've got an AR trying to look down there, and as fourth officials, what we try and do is control it early. As soon as it happens, you try and get there as fourth and go, you know what? Come on, get back in your technical area. Let's not go up there. If you're going to go to the edge of your technical area, yes, but then you come back. Or if you want to stand there, but do not leave your technical area. And to be honest with you, we usually say, look, we'll have a funny joke with them. We'll then try and build up a rapport with them. We'll then ask them again. Me personally, if I've asked you twice, that's it, you're done. If you leave that technical area again,
you're done by the done. That's right, mate.
And then it's a caution, and that. So I don't know how many cautions he's had for it this season, but he is constantly out of that technical area, and he will be the first to complain when the AR gets the throw-in wrong for ball in and out of play because he can't see, because I guess who stood on the touchline? Arteta. So it's all about man management, and it's all about having that conversations with managers and that. And you've got to build up rapport with benches and that. I always try and find one person on the bench that I can speak to and say, look, have a word with him for me, please.
Indeed, right. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little sneak peek at the table now, and obviously at the top of the league here, we're looking at a situation where we've got Arsenal, who've won five out of 5. City, obviously, with the 2 draws. Is this a 3-horse race, or is it a 2-horse race, gents?
I still feel like it's going to be a 2-horse race, Paul. I think we've talked in the past or in recent weeks, about the fact that Villa possibly don't have the same level of depth and rotations as the top 2, and I think that will ultimately be what sees them fall slightly short. Not that they would perceive finishing 3rd or within the top 4 as slightly short. It'd be a fabulous season for them. They won't be too far away, I don't think. I really like Villa, but I still think it's going to be from Arsenal or City.
Yeah, and the little battle for Europe just underneath there, we've seen some managerial movement. Obviously, with Maresca being fired, there was rumour of a clause in his contract with Manchester City, who they were facing, obviously, that weekend, coincidentally or not, that he may have an option to leave to go to Man City. I don't know what you heard about it.
I've heard that rumour. I haven't delved into too much detail on what the stipulations and criteria were for that. I was reading something about it the other day. Gaz, any insight from you? Anything you've heard?
No, I've seen the rumour as well, but I've not, like you, I've not delved into it. But I don't think that's a transition yet. I don't think Pep's quite done at City yet, personally.
No, I would agree.
No, I think that Pep, I don't know whether Pep would be more likely to stay if they won it or not. I think it'll be an interesting one that he only knows the answer to. They've replaced him with Rosinha, who was fancied by a lot of clubs, in particular Sheffield United as well. A lot of supporters were clambering for that. Obviously, he made a choice, and now he's the boss of Chelsea. It all sounds great, and obviously the money will be life changing. It's a difficult place to ply your trade, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
It is, and initial reactions on socials, media outlets that I've seen and heard is that it's not a popular appointment with supporters by and large. For the simple reason that he's not a big name, quite honestly. It does seem left field. It wasn't the appointment I expected. I don't think any of us expected. But let me play devil's advocate for a moment. Managing in the top level of a European league, he coached Strasbourg to a 51% win record. In a league they've no chance of winning, let's face it, but he leaves them in 7th place. Before Enzo Maresca joined Chelsea, he'd won the championship with Leicester, who were red-hot favourites for that and had a squad that was loaded to go and win it.
Mm.
Does that make him any more qualified to be an elite level first team manager? Or does it just mean that he has an exotic name and it's more fashionable than Liam Rosenior? I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, I think it's almost it's quite refreshing almost to see a young British manager get that opportunity. Where many managers who've been around the block a lot more than Rosenior has have been overlooked in the past. I think there's a feeling that he's quite innovative. We know that doesn't always translate into results, which will ultimately be what he is judged on. So yeah, I think I'm quite excited to see what's going on. They make Chelsea a little bit more likable in that sense for me. I still think they're missing some experience in the squad if they're going to go and challenge the top two. That's for sure. And they are about where they are in fifth position. And when we look at the season that they're having and we compare it to Liverpool, who we think are having a poor season by their standards, they're still 3 points behind them, aren't they? And it's kind of where I see Chelsea in the pecking order, with obviously an Aston Villa side that not everyone expected to be third at this point, particularly after the start of the season. But they are, they are where they are, and I think it's about right. And so yeah, it'll be interesting. And just underneath them, Rúben Amorim, who we think is making Man United, is making a few strides at Man U, certainly in terms of they've signed some better players this summer. They look like probably a better proposition than they did last season, that's for sure. But he's come out and he's had his say about about Jason Wilcox, hasn't he, the sporting director?
Yeah, it seemed the writing was on the wall after those comments post Ellen Road, a real swipe at the hierarchy, wasn't it? It followed some comments about transfer backing as well, previously, a few weeks back, being unlikely to receive what he needs to play a perfect 3-4-3. I'll throw a question out to both of you. I'll go let you in, Gaz, with this one first of all. Was he a bit inflexible, Rúben Amorim? And I'll ask you the same thing, Paul. That comment, especially to me, kind of just made me feel a little bit, because he's been accused of being a little bit inflexible, sticking with a formation that's not quite right for the players that he's got at times. That comment just kind of fed into that. What do you think, Gaz?
Yeah, I do totally agree with that. I don't think he was flexible, and I think that started that way. But you're a high-end coach. You've got to be flexible, and I think that's where Rosenior will be good. And at Chelsea, I think he's got that flexibility working with other clubs. But with him, I think the problem he has, he wanted to play that formation. You can't go into a club like Manchester United and say, I'm playing this way and I'm doing it this way, no whole bars. The big comment was, I am the manager, I'm not the head coach. I am the manager, where, let's be honest, I don't think he was. Let's be honest. And I think at a place like Manchester United, you've got to be flexible. If you haven't got the players, you need to be a good enough coach to adapt to the players you've got and deliver with that. And to be honest, yeah, I think he's lost his job more for the relationship breakdown than his actual results. Because you look where they are. They're not far off Champions League football here. And to be honest, yeah, it's his comments that have caught him out, and the breakdown of the relationship more than his actual on the field of play activity.
Yeah, I think it's a blow for this. It's a blow for the players, I think, as well, simply because they're probably in a better place than they've been for quite some time. And if the thing that would knock me the most if I was a Man U fan is you look at the players that have left the building. Rashford sticks out like a sore thumb, obviously, doing ever so well at the minute for Barcelona, and doing well for England when he plays as well. And you just think, how toxic did it have to be in that dressing room and in that environment? And some of the players they've moved on, McTominay as well, who's tearing it up. You've even got Rasmus Højlund scoring goals, who didn't look like he could score. He didn't look like a top striker, did he, at Manchester United? They've moved Sancho down the road. They've lost Pogba in recent time. There's a lot of talent that has left this club. And they never really saw what they were buying, if you know what I mean, from the player that we know that they are and can be. They haven't seen a lot of that, and the signings have been poor. They've made a couple of good ones in proven Premier League quality in Cunha and Bumo, I think, give them an extra edge this season. But I find it I think it was a really, really tough job. I think out of all those big jobs that we talk about in this country, the Man United job is at the minute is just so difficult because you're on a hiding to nothing. The expectations are through the roof. The wages you pay are through the roof. You've got lots of lads underperforming all the time. And I feel like he was just about getting round the corner of where they wanted him to be. And again, dropping the guillotine Amorim's got to be smarter than coming out in the press. I don't know where I am with it. I think Amorim's deserves what he's got because of how he's gone about it a little bit. But it will be a shame for the players and the supporters of Man U, I'd say.
Yeah, too outspoken, wore his heart on his sleeve a little bit too much. Like you say, maybe he was starting to turn a corner with them, finding an identity, and he wanted to try and do that in the window. Was denied that opportunity, apparently, according to him. But you've got to counsel yourself, haven't you, and make sure you don't upset the powers that be.
Yeah, I'd love to look at the signings again and see which ones were his, which ones were his signings, because there's been a lot of duds, aren't there, in Man U over the last 10 years.
I reckon he's getting about a £12 million payout. That's what they reckon, which means Man United, they reckon 90 odd million they've paid out now on managers leaving the club since Alex Ferguson left.
We're in the wrong line, gents.
I won't be shocked. I heard that Graham Potter was obviously still being paid a long time, obviously, after he left Chelsea, and because no one could match the money, that's why he didn't take a job. But there were 6, apparently, they were paying at the same time. Compensation.
You know, Chelsea have just put Rosini on a 6-year contract as well, by the way. 6-year contract.
I don't know. Well, we'll be talking about that in a year's time and whether that was a good idea or not. So yeah, we look down at the bottom of the table. This is where the big result tonight with Forest taking 3 points at West Ham. That is a crushing blow if the circumstances Gaz has described are as accurate as he says, because Forest were just on the slide themselves. You can see it there with the 4 defeats on the bounce. West Ham hoping to drag them into the mire, and they nearly had a 2-0 lead. It didn't happen. All of a sudden it's 1-1 and then it's 2-1. All the sides above them look like they can pick up results. West Ham, 5 defeats in 6 with 1 draw in the middle. 4 boys. That is crushing. It really, really is for West Ham.
Well, you look at the run of fixtures they've got as well, Paul. After their cup game at home to QPR, they've got Spurs away. Okay. Spurs aren't exactly flying, but that's a London derby, not an easy game for them. Then they've got Sunderland visiting the London Stadium after that, and then they're away at Chelsea. So you look at the run of fixtures they've got coming up, and you think they're not going to gain too many points from that. You wouldn't think, not on the face of it.
Well, I do think that's the same for everybody at the bottom. And when you stare up, and it's and we've spoken about this, when you used to look at the Premier League 15, 20 years ago, and we'd be in there as supporters of Sheffield United, you'd identify 7 or 8 games at home where you go, that'll be a home banker. There is literally no home bankers anymore. Especially now, even Wolves, who I think teams treat them as the side where if they don't get 3 points, then they think it's a massive letdown for themselves at this point in the season. Even they're looking like they're gonna try and give the fans something to shout about towards the end of the season. So it is looking really, really bad for West Ham. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Jared Bowen is a top talent, and he can pull some rabbits out of some hats. But will it be enough?
Well, I mean, they're certainly they're spending some big money, aren't they, Gaz? I mean, would you think they've got to be banking on those 2 signings? They've just spent nearly £50 million on. They've got to be hoping for that, haven't they? Yeah,
they have. But when you look at it, they're picking up 0.6 a point a game there, something like that. That's all they're picking up at the moment. 17 games left. That means they're probably going to pick up 17. If I do some quick maths, probably going to get about 11 or 12 more points. That's it if they carry on this form, which means them above them only need to win 2 more games this season. They're going to be above West Ham this season. I think they're really going to struggle, mate.
The ones that'll be close, obviously, you got your Forest, your Leeds, and your Bournemouth just above. I think they're the 3, aren't they?
Yeah.
I see Palace being able to pull away. and I don't think Everton and Spurs will get dragged in. So I think that they're the three. Bournemouth's form's a little bit concerning. Lots and lots of draws on the board at the moment. Leeds United much more competitive now, look more dangerous. Obviously, with Calvert-Lewin and stealing those 3 points, it's going to be a lot more on the table. Notts Forest. I still believe from here that West Ham are going to find it hard to claw them back in.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, we've talked about it before, haven't we? The players that Forest have got, they've got some talent at the top of the pitch. Amari Hutchinson, Morgan Gibbs-White. You know, some of the players that they've got in their side that will get them goals. You know, they'll eke points out just through. I mean, we've seen it tonight with Gibbs-White getting a late goal there. They've got players in their side that should have enough for them, and you know, their points per game at the moment would suggest that as well. Does look ominous for that bottom three.
Indeed, mate. Indeed. And I think we'll end it there, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. We've, again, solved a lot of the Premier League questions, queries, managerial roundabout. I'm sure early December, with the 6th on recording. So there'll be an awful lot more action between now and the end of the transfer window. Thank you very much, lads. We will see what happens when we next come on, which will be a couple of weeks, I think, now, because of the cup break. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about when it comes to transfers and seeing who's really getting their wallets out and want to make a fist of surviving at the bottom there, and ultimately who wants to make a go of it at the top. Where I remember Villa made some amazing loan signings towards the end of last season, didn't they? In Rashford and Asensio and people like that. So they really went for it. Could we see something like that again? Maybe it is a 3-horse race. We'll have to wait and see. But I want to thank everybody for joining us on the stream. Get your comments into us, guys. Like and subscribe, and enjoy your week.